Aloha, and thank you for purchasing this DVD. This DVD you're watching is a documentary based on the local, obscure, non-profit organization called Zion Ipuka. Zion Ipuka is a homeless and needy-based transitional program located on the leeward coast of Oahu that has helped over 30 couples and families over the past 5 years. What you're about to see are actual interviews from the formerly homeless individuals who have been impacted by the Zion Ipuka program, along with added background and commentary from Pastor Curtis Suzaki, founder of Zion Ipuka. We thank you for watching Transform Lives, Change Communities, and we gladly thank you for your support. Zion Ipuka was founded in the year 2007 by Pastor Curtis Suzaki, a Hawaii-born individual and a University of Oregon graduate. He found a heart for the homeless in 1998 and started his own homeless ministry in Honolulu under Corvette Center Ministries. But in 2005, his attention turned to the west side and he moved his ministry to Waianae, one of the most impoverished communities on the island of Oahu.
So basically, I came to the west side, and by then I had some experience with the homeless when I was downtown doing a ministry with the homeless in the shelters over there. But still very, green to the people that I was going to be working with. Didn't have drug alcohol issues, came from a family that was so-called functional. They stayed together. I was educated. When I used to go on the beach, people would, really notice me. A tall Japanese American guy, looks clean cut. What is he doing out here? But I couldn't say anything except it was a calling. I just knew that this is where I was supposed to be.
However, he was unaware at the time what the next 10 years would have in store for him.
Well, the way we started Zion Ipuka in the first place was we would go out to the beaches where the homeless lived, and we would bring out food. And food is always a good draw. They miss meals, they don't have the money or the resources to have 3 squares, so they're always looking for some extra meal. And then through that we were able to develop relationships with them. And so we would say a prayer before the meal. We would talk with them and then learn more about them and learn what their needs were.
In the early years, Zion Ipuka's weekly beach gatherings saw up to 30 to 40 homeless a day, many of them being couples and families with children. Among them were James Buford and Pam Caspino, longtime drug addicts and residents of the beaches of Waianae.
Our first couple that entered Zion Ipuka was this couple that had been homeless for years. So we started with the food, and then they just became regulars along with several other people at that time. But I really could see that God was pointing me towards them, that there was something special about this couple.
See, Pastor Curtis had this say that come as you are to church, and we used to come even though we were high. We used to come, but then after a while we used to be convicted because we were high coming and we didn't feel right. So eventually me and my wife talked and said we can't be doing this and going to church at the same time. So that was that stepping stone already for us to make that change.
As Pastor Curtis's attention geared more towards James and Pam, the two of them were married in 2008. Pastor Curtis officiated the wedding. James and Pam Buford, however, were still drug addicted and homeless.
You want to know what we used to do? We used to be drugging out before too, so we was bad into drugs and we used to pick up whoever's tent over here who used to sell. We used to pick up drugs. It was heavy into drugs. How we used to buy the drugs is we used to recycle. We still do recycle to today. And he used to go work or diving in the ocean. That's how we used to have money for cigarettes, drugs, and eat. You notice I mentioned what is first, and second, and third. So that was our mentality: cigarettes, drugs, and then eat.
And so, just because of circumstances, the homeless were getting shifted off the beaches and were further down the beach. They were getting sort of to the point where they were getting pretty tired of this lifestyle.
Couples like James and Pam inspired Pastor Curtis to open a transitional house for formerly homeless couples where they could receive marriage counseling, drug treatment, education, and vocational training. James and Pam would be the first residents.
Just through, providence, a house was becoming available, a 6-bedroom house in Macau, which was going to be used for housing homeless people. And so we had this house coming up, and then we had this couple was sort of getting to the point where they're ready. And so right around that time, I just approached them. I said, "Are you guys ready?" They said, "Yes, Pastor, we're ready." They became our first couple. I think it was in June 2010.
James and Pam Buford moved into the Zion Ipuka transitional house nearly 2 years after their marriage. As they were undergoing drug treatment, Pastor Curtis turned his attention to another 2 homeless couples living on the west side, Moki and Kat Nahoy and Kazu and Marie Kalani.
So the second couple, Moki and Kat, I met at Wendy's in Kapolei. At that time they were staying in a storage container, and I could see them sitting down in the grass right in front of Wendy's under a tree. And so I approached them, and then I started to talk to them.
So we've been all over the place. Personally, I've been all over the world, but I was homeless several times. But on this last time in 2009, we were at our wits' end. Drugs and alcohol got to us, and personally, I just tapped out.
My marriage was very, very volatile, very domestic abuse. I was suffering from emotional abandonment from my parents. I'm my only child, and I lost them both at a very young age, I believe, and I wasn't equipped to live my life. So I indulged in alcohol and drugs that helped me not to face my reality of my life, and that I could not, I didn't know how to live life. So for many years, I did whatever I could. Whatever was available, I did it.
So then what I suggested that they do is that try to get out of first get off the street or where they were staying and get into a place. And so they said they would talk to their one of the people they met at church and see if they could stay temporarily at their house.
We went to New Hope Leeward in Waipahu, and we got plugged in to a Bible study group on Monday evenings, and there we got a number, and we learned about Pastor Curtis and opening up a transitional home for married couples.
And then I kept in touch with the person. So Moki and Kat did get into a house, and they did live with a church friend. And so the report turned out good. They were going to church, they were involved in fellowships and Bible studies, and they were really hooked up in the church. So after a month I said, okay, I think I'm going to take them. So we talked to Moki and Kat and gave them the good news. I said, okay, I decided to bring you in. And so that was the second couple, and they came in about, I think it was also about June or July of 2010. Well, the third couple, I had actually met Kazu several years back when I was at Depot's Beach in Nanakuli. But he was out there, and he was, having his problems and he was running away from stuff, and so I met him under that circumstance, and then you know, fast forward several years to 2010. Here he is. We're at now we have a service on the beach, and a Sunday service, and Pam and James were that's where we found Pam and James, and they're in the house, smoking cat are in the house, and so one day we had a Sunday service, and I recognized Kazu sitting with a woman who I found out later was his wife Marie.
Yeah, we was living at Kel Beach Park for 2 years, but before that we was down at Depots in Nanakuli. We was at that beach park. We was going through some, our relationship was, was going through separation, and you know, my wife had her own tent, I had my own tent.
He was at Depot.
Yeah.
I was at the harbor.
In 2010, that's when we moved out into Pastor Curtis. I already was on my last, how you say, I lost everything already.
You know, they looked really busted up, and Marie had a big cast on her leg, and you know, so I knew something was up. He said, "Oh, Pastor, how are you doing? Oh, this is my wife Marie, and you know, we just you know, we have nowhere to go, so we're just hanging out over here." And so I said, "Oh, you guys, so where are you guys staying?" He said, "Well, somewhere in Makaha," and I found it was Cal Beach Park. So I said, "Oh, you know what? We just opened a house in Makaha, and you know, we're looking for people to put in there. So why don't you, you know, fill out an application?" I had an application with me, so I gave him an application.
Right off the bat, I said, "Oh, hell no." Inside of me, right, I was thinking, "Oh no, couples? There's only one king and one queen in my house. I'm the king and my wife is the queen." Yeah. So I like. Yeah, well, okay, well, let me think about it.
And then I got talking to Kazu. I started finding out a little bit about his situation, and he was struggling with drugs, and you know, Marie was sort of staying with one of the daughters, I think it was at that time, and so they were not together. So I told Kazu, "Why don't you? Are you interested in getting into drug treatment? I know about a house." Not too far from where you guys are at now, that you know, you could stay and try to get, you know, help with your drug problem. And so he said, okay. Well, he was sort of hesitant at first, but then he said, okay. So I gave him the number, and then pretty much that's all I saw of them. And I thought, well, I wasn't sure if he was actually going to call, but he did end up calling the clean and sober house, and he got in. I found out, and so later on I reconnected with him. So he was staying in the clean and sober house, his wife was staying with the daughter, but they were starting to communicate with each other because they had been sort of having problems in their marriage, and so they had split up, and but then through that, getting into that program, they started to reconnect. And then I just I kept asking him, okay, how are things going? How are things going? And finally, after about a month, he said, "You know what, Pastor, I think I would like to come in your house." And me and my wife, and I said, okay. So so we brought them in about maybe the end of July 2010, and so they were the third couple.
With 3 new couples at Zion Ipuka, an official housewarming was given in August 2010, the day Kazu and Marie moved in.
I remember the day they came in, because now there were 3, and you know, they were still really, you know, they looked like they had gone to the war. That day we decided to gather some of the church people together. I said like a short little inspirational word to them. We brought them in the center and we prayed for them. And that was the start of the first class of Zion Ipuka. These couples came from totally different backgrounds. They didn't know each other at all, which is sort of unusual because they were all homeless, and so you would think that they would have kind of crossed paths, but they didn't. They didn't know each other at all.
We never got high together. I never met them. None of us met each other.
Total
We
strangers.
crossed paths. Maybe leaving, they were coming. We knew the same people, but never ever have we ever sat down and gotten high together. So I believe God already appointed us to be friends, because that would have been hard for us to hang out if we did drugs before together.
I never know them out there. They said where they was. We
was
we
there,
sold
we
drugs
never met.
there. You know where they said they was, and we never
We
did
never
run
crossed
into
path
them. We
with them.
never did cross path with them. Right where James and Pam said they was living, that tent right next to them, we was in there
Yeah.
selling drugs out of that tent.
Right next.
You know, and James said, "Oh yeah, that tent." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, there's some good stuff coming out of that tent." And that was our stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That was ours, and
And we never even
we
met
never
them.
even met them.
From then on, all 6 of them began the 9-month road to cleanliness and sobriety. Each of the 3 couples had entered Zion Ipuka with their own emotional baggage and worries. Kazu and Marie, who had once been separated, quickly realized that they would have to learn how to live as a married couple again.
That was the year, my wife. I mean, we was going down the road, and we was all high,
Got into it.
and we was grumbling, and she told me she had enough, and I told her, "What you mean? What you mean you had enough? No, we ain't together." And she jumped out of the car.
I had enough of his verbal abuses.
Yeah.
You know, the mental the sanity we was going through,
Yeah.
the arguments, I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So, for get away from him, he wouldn't stop the car, pull over for let me out. And I never sit there, listen to his verbal abuse. So I just had to get away, but my head was just telling me, I cannot let him continue to do this to me. So I decided to jump out the car, and I broke my shin bone. And then I ended up at Queens,
Yeah.
and that's when I found God again. And I said, this is it, I had enough. I'm done. I'm gonna clean up my act, and if my husband don't stop, I'm done. I'm walking out of this relationship. You know, I wasn't gonna go back into that life. I was done with that life. And while I was in the hospital at Queens, I was sleeping, and all of a sudden God told me that I need to leave, I need to let go. If I find happiness, joy, happiness, and freedom, I had to leave. Once I was stay stuck in that chaos, that destruction, and I might die the next time, you know, because I was at the point I never liked my life already the way it was going. It's at the end of the rope already for me. And he also told me I need to see my husband for the last time, let him know how I feel, and let him know that I'm serious about this. I'm done. I'm done looking back. You know, I had enough.
Later on, I found out that I was selfish, and everything was all about me.
Zion Ipuka
Yeah,
taught us.
was true Zion Ipuka.
Yeah.
Was the process, yeah. And you know, man, the first couple months I was real rebellious. Everything they voted, you know, I always, they wanted this, and I never liked that. So every time they would vote, okay, who wants this? They would vote. Oh, who don't like this? My hand would pop up, you know. And they was like, what? You again? You know, I said, yeah, you know, yeah, I don't like doing this. Pastor Curtis, one day, he just was fed up already, and he just told me straight, he just said, you know what, if you don't like being here, the gate is right there. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, oh yeah. And you know, one moment of clarity when it hit me at that moment is gate is there. Oh yeah, you telling me I can go? Yeah, and I looking at the gate and I thinking, okay, I show you. Oh yeah, I show you. But boom, something came in me, and I believe was the Holy Spirit talking to me and telling me, where you going? Or God telling me, where you going? You have nowhere to go. You are what? You like out that gate and go right back where you came from. You know, I believe that was my turning point in Zion Ipuka. After that, I just sit in my lip and just agreed with what I really agreed with, because I knew my decision, everything that I decided for me, always never work out.
For Moki and Kat, who also had marriage problems in the past, say that their biggest motivation towards recovery was their granddaughter, Dana Lynn.
Once we found out that we were gonna be grandparents, that changed the ball game for me. I mean, should have been for our children, but for some odd reason, having been a grandma and a papa, it seemed more precious to me. I didn't want to be a chronic grandma, and I wanted to be the best that I could be for her. So that's what made the ball rolling towards recovery and wanting to be better. So yeah, she was the God-sent angel that made it happen. You know, I wanted to do anything and everything to be better for her, and it's still that way today.
He brought her into our lives in December of 2009.
2 days before Christmas.
2 days before Christmas, and it was a gift. And we were stuck in our mess, and we wanted so much to change, but we didn't know how to change from January all the way to July, until we finally made a decision, and we prayed together, and we gave God everything that we had, because we really didn't have anything at that point. I was empty, I was broken, I was bankrupt,
Our kids left us.
Our kids left us. My wife finally left me, and I was living underneath the bridge. And it was a process. It was a process from the time she was born in December until the time that we were given the opportunity to come into Zion Ipuka.
During their stay at Zion Ipuka, Moki and Kat decided to renew their vows before Pastor Curtis, their family, and the people of Zion Ipuka, which Moki and Kat considered to be the turning point of their married lives.
I think because when we were out there doing the drugs, and there was a lot of things that we said to each other, we've done to each other that we could have not done. So we wanted to wipe the slate clean and start brand new, because we got married by judge, and I wanted to have it blessed by God. And that's what we did. We did it a day after his birthday and a day before my birthday.
Right in the front yard at Zion Ipuka.
That was a turning point in our lives. We needed to make things right, and it started with God. But I believe that, again, I'm going back to the granddaughter.
Yeah.
I believe He sent her, because at that point we had no hope. It felt like we had no hope already, and God uses things and people to be the inspiration, and that's what
The reason.
And
Yeah.
Probably the most important thing was that they started to like each other. You know, that was amazing, you know. because they're not too far in age, but totally different backgrounds. They didn't know each other. Another thing was they're all, coincidentally they were Native Hawaiian, and that was another thing that I did not have under, I didn't plan it out that way, and so it just happened. And this actually became something very important because then it sort of set the tone for what we did later on. So because they came from sort of the same area of the Hawaiian coast, which is a high population of Native Hawaiian, so that brought a certain, flavor and sort of culture to our house. And so that also helped them to get along because they had that local Native Hawaiian mindset. So they got along really well. And except for, there were a few battles here and there, but more so not between themselves, but between the spouses themselves, But they started to support one another, pray for one another, and encourage one another. And so they actually helped each other in their marriages as well. Once it got rolling, it sort of took care of itself, and they started to help each other. And then they started to do things together. They were like inseparable. I remember the first thing they did was they went on a hike up Lahi Lahi Mountain. And this really created a bond, and now they have a new family where before their family was sort of dysfunctional. Their friends were, not good influences, but now they had each other. So now they could be with each other and avoid those not so healthy relationships.
Throughout the course of 9 months, the 3 couples continued to work towards becoming contributing members of society. The 3 men, with the help of Pastor Curtis, began job searching. The 3 women, however, took the riskiest step forward of returning to school after nearly 20 years.
What happened is that all 3 of them, who had been high school dropouts, went back to get their GED. They all dropped off before 11th grade, and going back to school was such a big step for them. And then, they all enrolled in adult ed together. It was such a, I remember that, just taking them down there, all 3 of them were sort of nervous, but all 3 of them signed up, and then they attended the classes, and then at first, of course, it was a little uncomfortable for them, but then the 3 of them went together, so then it came to the point where, oh wow, it's class time, and they would all get on the van or whatever, they would be so excited. So they did so well in their studies. All of them ended up passing the exams. There are several exams they had to take to get the GED. And so they all, ended up going to class together, doing homework together, and then passing exams together. And then eventually, had the privilege of watching all 3 of them graduate. That was at the Baysdale Concert Hall. After that, they're in the reception area and they're getting laid by everybody, and something that they didn't experience because they all dropped out of high school, and so it was something that I guess they dreamed about doing, and it just, it happened.
Finally, in May 2011, all of the couples graduated from the Zion Ipuka program. A graduation ceremony was held at Zion Ipuka, and family and church members were invited to attend. They all moved into affordable housing within 6 months. James and Pam Buford now live at Halewai Vista, an apartment complex in Waianae.
Okay, this is where we live at Halewai Vista. This is our place that we can call home. Besides living on the beach for so long, this is our place now. Thank you, God. Como mine. People play. We're living on my cousin's lot, which was a container.
Zion Ipuka Transitional Home, we moved to his cousin's lot, right across of Cal Beach Park. We stood in there about a year, and then today, after a year, we signed up Hollywood Vista and we was blessed to get in. And here we are right now. Apartment 308.
Wow, look at this.
Yeah.
So this is our Holly. This is where we live. Thank God we got a place that
You call home.
we got air conditioning. Yeah. From the beach to Zion house, a transition house. From that house to one container into Hollywood Vista. This is our transition right here.
Amazing.
Back home.
Say hi.
She likes to take pictures.
You like the camera, yeah?
Yes. She's a wild girl. Kiss Mimi. Kiss Mimi.
You know, whenever we're in the house, she just takes off all her clothes, goes straight crazy.
The Hawaiian
This is our son-in-law,
Howling, howling.
Keith Griffin.
Okay.
Nice to
Hi.
meet you.
Nice to
Goes
meet
to
you.
And
goes
that's my
with.
son, Kalan.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Just trying to get to know my family more because before that, I started living here, I was a foster child. So I lived with my grandparents in Big Island. So I was living with this island for about 3 years.
Alani says that, Dad, I said, son, sorry, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you growing up. Because, you know, a parent is someone that they can run to, you know, especially when they get hurt. Anyway, that we can say, okay, it's all right. But what inspired me was when you said, that's all right, Dad, better late than never.
Since I'm from Vegas, I've known a lot of drug dealers, druggies, and all that. When I first met you guys, honestly, I can't tell. Y'all changed a lot, I'm telling you.
James and Pam also recently visited the area of Uliaba Beach where they used to live 5 years ago to remember how far they had come. Many of their friends and family, however, are still out there. They hope to someday inspire others to leave the beach and their drug-stricken lives and acquire the help they need.
Truly blessed. We are truly blessed, yeah?
Yes, we are.
Today, I can look back at all of that and I know that God has a plan, yeah, for us. And today I can also say that because of His grace, that's the reason why we clean and sober today, and we have what we have. It's because of His grace and His mercy. And you know, today I can also say that I believe there is a God, yeah, and I'm not Him. I'm not God, you know, and I'm not Him, you know, and I believe that.
You know what? I thank God. Every single day, every opportunity, I thank God. I thank God for this new place that we're in. I thank God for the place that we just moved from. I thank God for helping to build us into the people that we are today. Responsible, accountable, committed to one another, you know, and you know, my wife. Go to school,
I go to school.
college.
I go to college, which I never thought I'd do. I'm a full-time wife and a full-time grandma, which I love being. And you know, I love who I am today, clean and sober.
How many years?
4 years
4 months.
and 4 months.
Today.
Today.
Yay!
Moki, who is on his way to becoming an ordained minister, preaches regularly at Cedar Church, a church in Waianae that is located at Cedar Farm, where many homeless families are currently staying.
So today's message is about a time for a change. Everybody say change!
Change!
Alright.
this really created a bond that now, today even, these three couples are still best friends. They still see each other every week. They still call each other on the phone, and they just support one another in whatever they go through. And that's really what carried them through all these years now. Since 2010, now it's 2014, they're still on the right track and they're still moving forward. I'm so proud of them.
Altogether, Zion Ipuka has helped nearly 30 couples and families within 5 years. In addition to drug treatment, all couples are required to attend house meetings, church services, and participate in the Kuka Kuka program, which helps those of Native Hawaiian descent get in touch with their identity.
About 60 to 70% of the homeless on the Waianae Coast are Native Hawaiian. Through that, I saw an opportunity to utilize, the Native Hawaiian culture in the Zion Ipuka program as well. I think it was about maybe a year or so later, I ran into a guy named Abe Correa. He had a program designed specifically for Native Hawaiians. And so we met, and then I got to talk to him, and again, here I'm thinking about how I can improve this program. So I said, wow, I'm really interested in hearing about your program. So he shared with me some of his materials, and I was really impressed. I thought, wow, this is exactly what we need.
Ready? Yo! Yeah! Tuba!
Our mission is to initiate and create and cultivate a much healthier and more meaningful relationships where families can now supersize their dreams and sail their canoe to new horizons. The goal is to inspire them to build a much higher level of self-esteem, which becomes a foundation for him or her to tackle new challenges and how to cope with old ones.
Life-breathing sovereign created by the image of God, destined for greatness.
Even after 5 years, Pastor Curtis says that this is only the beginning for Zion Ipuka, as the need for rehabilitation and temporary housing rises every day on the Waianae Coast. He hopes to continue his work with Abe Correa, Cedar Church, and other individuals who are currently involved in Zion Ipuka's affairs. His most current plan to date is to turn his focus to nurturing 3 main areas of Zion Ipuka: housing, education, and sustainability.
So I just want to give to people what I had received. And that's what I want to do. I just want to give them a chance. I want to give them a chance to have a happy marriage. I want to give them a chance to have education. I want to give them a chance to have their own home, to have children with them. That's all the things that I had, And I know that it seems so simple, but so many people don't have that. And the homeless don't have that, And so that's basically really all I did, And of course there was a lot of, I guess faith that was involved in that, risk-taking and just taking chances, But really, it came down to relationship, just telling about myself and telling them how my marriage was, my marriage was going, telling about my relationship with my father and my mother, and just imparting the things that I had. I couldn't give them what I didn't have. I didn't have problems with drugs. I didn't have, I guess violence. I never went to jail. All these things I didn't experience. So I couldn't give them that wisdom and knowledge. So I gave them what I could, which was what I had received, and it was what they needed. It was amazing. I just thought it was amazing that God could use me, who had none of those experiences, to help people that had fallen into this kind of life.
For me, I just want to thank God, and I thank God for putting people like Pastor Curtis, and for Pastor Curtis for listening to the call, and for pursuing his goals of opening Zion Ipuka for couples, because if it wasn't for that, for him not being obedient to God, we would not be here. You know, we're just thankful and we're blessed. And if we can do it, other people can do it too. You can have a loving marriage and be happy.
I mean, no more words can say how much he had helped us with our relationship, our family, getting our family back, and finding the peace in ourselves. I mean, we can communicate, we can actually sit down and be ourselves, you know. I am happy today. I mean, I don't know how to say how grateful I am for him, you know.
My goal is not to go back. You know, move forward. Even if it's baby steps, even if it's just a small little thing. Yeah, my goal is just continue moving forward. Yeah, and not to look back.
And they became a family to me, I became a family to them. And I consider them my second family now. You know, I love my first family, and I appreciate all they did for me, just giving me the chances that they gave me. But this is my second family that I feel comfortable with, you know, maybe as much as my first family, and they're my spiritual family. And you know, so I have a lot of spiritual children and grandchildren. They consider me the father of this whole thing. So I just I feel really blessed, but I feel that, you know, this path that God put me on, you know, was meant for my good as well. So thank you, Zion Ipuka, for all your love and, you know, and treating me like a family.